What's up, guys? Today we're looking at the top 5 KO artists in kickboxing. Now, instead of just looking at them, I actually want to break down why they were so good at scoring the KOs and what you could do to be a little bit more like them when you're in the ring, when you're competing. So today we're going to be looking at 5 guys who have a crazy KO percentage. Alright guys, today is all about those big knockouts, whether they come from punches, low kicks, head kicks. And I've done a little bit of research. I found 5 guys who just have a super high KO record. But if I miss somebody that should have been included in this video, make sure you let me know in the comments below and I will do a separate video breaking them down, making sure I include them in this whole conversation, because anybody who can accomplish similar feats to the guys we're talking about today definitely deserves some awesome recognition. And guys, we're going to start at the bottom, the lowest KO ratio of everybody we're talking about today, and we will work our way up and up and up until we get to the KO king. So first, we're talking about Gokusaki with a KO percentage of 72%. That means out of his 81 wins, 58 come by KO. Now, we haven't seen Gokhan in the ring in quite a while. I think he had a little bit of issues with Glory, ended up moving to UFC. Wasn't as successful there as he probably hoped he'd been, but keep in mind, as soon as you change from 10-ounce gloves to 4-ounce gloves, you add in the takedowns, it changes everything entirely. But this guy did a crazy, amazing job in the kickboxing ring, whether it was K1 or Glory, especially considering he was not nearly as big as the other guys. So let's break down how he was able to accomplish many of these awesome knockouts. Now, the first thing when we look at Gokusaki that always stood out to me was his ability to string combinations together so explosively. He wouldn't just step in and sort of 1, 2, 3. He would be on the outside. He kind of stepped like this. He'd have that sort of movement back and forth. His feet kind of look Thai style. He would wait for the opportune time, and then when he would jump in, it wouldn't just be 1, 2, 3. He'd let his hands just rip off, and he would very often finish things off with a low kick, or even more surprising, because of his body style and the way he looked, he could just get those legs way up to head level, score some very, very impressive KOs with those head kicks. But the part for me that always stood out was just his ability to just start stringing punches together until he got that knockout. He kind of looked like the Tyson of kickboxing. If we wanted to be like Gokhan, if we wanted to try and emulate his style, we need to be sure we're doing 3 things very well. Number 1, explosive on the entry. When he enters, he is just so dynamic. He gets to you and he's in your zone in a split second, which he had to be able to do because he had shorter arms than most of the guys. So closing the distance, getting to the inside position where he could let his short punches go was a must. Number 2, once he got to the inside and once he was here, it wasn't usually just 1 or 2 shots like we already mentioned. It was ripping away. So if you want to get good at that, set yourself up in front of the bag, nice tight guard, and just try letting 10 punches go. But you'll notice with him, he doesn't always hit the same spot. He's very good at mixing up heights. So you want to set yourself up, base out, be like Gokhan, a couple up high, couple down low, back to the head, switching up angles, and just letting those hands explode out. And then number 3, you need to be able very quickly on the end of those to shift your weight backwards and pop that head kick right up there. So we can practice explode in, chin tuck, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then boom, into the low kick or into the head kick. The time between his punches to his kick is very minimal. It's not like punch, 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 kick. It's punch, 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 kick. Everything's fluid, everything follows, which makes it very difficult to go from blocking those punches to blocking the kick because it comes right after. There's no time to assess or readjust and get ready for that head kick. Super KO artist, Gokusaki, amazing. Hopefully we will see him back in the ring before he's done, before he officially retires. All right, guys, next we're talking about Japanese superstar Tenshin. He has a KO percentage of 73%. That means of his 41 wins, 30 have come by knockout. And let's keep in mind that of those 41 wins, he has 0 losses. Yes, he had the exhibition with Mayweather. We're not really counting that one because the size difference was just insane and it was boxing, but his kickboxing record is flawless. Now, why is he so fantastic at getting such a high KO percentage? I know a lot of people go, oh, okay, he hasn't fought everybody yet. And yeah, that's fine. Maybe he hasn't fought everybody there is to fight. But he's still doing an amazing job. He's still winning the fights. He's still knocking guys down. I haven't seen too many of his fights, but when I watched him fight Rodtang, one of the big things I noticed was his ability, as he's being defensive, to throw his counter shot and land. It's something that not a lot of people are very good at. A lot of people will go offense, 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 defense, 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 and they'll just go back and forth between the two. And then when they do throw their counters, they're gonna hit here, or here, or here. They don't really know what they're hitting, they're just throwing. But with tension, he's able to block and catch right where he should, and block and catch right where he should. His accuracy and his eyesight are so phenomenal. And then on top of that, he's just busting out all sorts of fancy things. You know, I've seen him land a jumping, spinning sidekick, I think, to the face, which put his opponent out cold. Now I'm rocking a knee injury right now, so I'm not even gonna try and demonstrate that for you just on the off chance that this makes it worse. But his dynamic, explosive style allow him to do things which not a lot of other fighters are capable of, and being able to bust them out in the ring gives him just some phenomenal KO footage. He also looks like he hits very, very hard for somebody his size, and the switch up in his style is just amazing. You know, he can fight from out here, he can play this game, he keeps his hands down, he moves his head, he doesn't really look like a kickboxer, and then he'll come to the inside and he'll be throwing just like a kickboxer, but then he can move back out and bust out all those other fancy techniques, which just make him so much fun to watch. All right, guys, from here we're moving to Peter Arts, the lumberjack. 75% KO ratio, which means of his 108 wins, that's crazy. 81 have come by way of knockout. Now he's called the lumberjack because when he knocks people down, they just go down like a tree. It's like their body locks up and they just collapse. Now he's done this with his punches for sure, but it's his high kicks and his low kicks, but high kicks in particular to me, which really, really stand out. And I've talked before about Peter Arts landing his high kicks. I'm gonna do a little shift here on Bob and some of the things that he does, some of the fakes he utilizes. So a couple of them, which are just fantastic, is he comes from this zone here. He'll get really tight, he'll stretch his arms out, and then from there, as the person backs up, he's able to land his head kick. He'll go push up to the high kick. When people get pushed back very often, they stretch their arms out, which exposes them to that head kick. He's also phenomenal at touching the body, dropping the head, and coming up high. Draws the elbows down, and then he chops up to the neck. Basically, any awesome version of a head kick this guy has landed. Now, there are many elements, of course, which make Peter Arts really, really good, but that high kick in particular, being able to throw from here by dropping his head, being able to push people back, or to jump away himself and get that head kick up, those are all amazing features which a lot of heavyweights don't have. So if you're wanting to work your high kick like Peter Arts, try to play around with distances and don't always throw at this ideal distance for a head kick. That's great if you end up there and can get your head kick up, but if you want to be able to throw it from here or from back here, you have to practice. You have to practice getting those head kicks up, pushing back and setting those kicks up from odd angles, odd distances. When you can do that, you start surprising people like Peter Arts does, and then that's when they drop. It's very easy for me to see a kick coming. If you're right there and you blast it right up, that's much easier than maybe me blinding you and then coming up with that, or dropping my head and then coming up with that. Get in the gym, drill those high kicks, different distances, odd angles, get that kick like Peter Arts, and people will start falling for it. You will start landing that head kick. All right, guys, next up, high KO percentage, 79%, Rob Cayman. This crazy record, check it out, 97 wins, 77 by KO. And I honestly have not watched loads and loads of Rob Cayman yet. I will now that I just did. A little brief look at his KO footage, what was allowing him to KO his opponents. Obviously, I learned that his name is Mr. Low Kick, and as soon as I saw some highlights, I went right away, okay, yeah, I get why, and I need to watch more of this guy. But the first thing that I noticed, we're not going to go into his hands, we're not going to go into any other things, we're going to look strictly at his low kicks, because when you look at his Wikipedia and you start going through knockouts, it's like punch, punch, low kick. decision, low kick, punch, low kick, decision, low kick, and the low kick just keeps popping up. So the first thing that I noticed is he is very proficient at not just doing what most people do. Obviously, he can come in and he can just blast the low kick, but he's also very good at blocking a kick. If somebody throws a middle kick, block it, and then he fires right back. That's an opportune time to land your own low kick. Somebody throws, when they're right here, this leg has to come back down. It can't come here and balance like that. Not many people can pull that off. Legit technique, of course, 1, 2, but not many people do it. Most people go kick and they drop. All the weight's there. They don't have time to check for a split second. So if you can block and fire right back, perfect timing. He's also very good at drawing the check in a fake style. So he lifts, he sees them lift, he drops and then chops, because a lot of times people, when they block, they come up and down. They don't lift and flamingo here because you're just not very strong in this position. So if you can time somebody, fake, get them to lift and drop, you have so much more chance of landing that low kick. That's one of the first things I noticed about Rob Cayman is when I started watching, is he lands a lot of those low kicks. And it's not honestly the hardest thing to block, a low kick. You see it coming, you check. It's very fast. It's very fast to do that, but he manages to land it very frequently, so we have to look at why. Now, one of the things that surprised me when I started looking was I went, oh my gosh, he KO'd Hoost with a punch, but technically before that, he was chopping him down. Now, somebody like Ernesto Hoost had a very, very narrow stance, was very light on that front leg, so what did Rob Cayman do? He attacked the back leg. He went after that rear leg, which very often is not nearly as conditioned as the lead leg. So if I'm facing towards my opponent and I find, oh shoot, this isn't working, they're blocking it every time, that means they're super heavy on their back leg. I need to either fake and come to the back leg, or I need to set it up and step around, or I can swoop to the side. If I'm wanting to kick with the left leg, I step to the left, I sort of shuffle step, and then I come in and I land that low kick. Super dangerous, effective way to chop somebody down. If you can't get to their front leg, go to the back leg. I've been kicked there before by one of my Muay Thai training partners who was a southpaw. He would be blasting me in that leg, and it took me a good year to build up the resilience of it, and now I can proudly say it's very well conditioned. And when I spar against a lot of other people and I throw my left leg and I attack their back, I find they give out really fast. I can not KO, but see people get damaged very quickly when I do sparring rounds and I attack that back leg. Very often I have to ease off because I know if I hit them 5 or 6 more times, they're not going to be able to spar anymore, so then I have to switch up my tactics. But attacking that back leg is very important. It's something Rob did so well against Ernesto Hoost. This is a very interesting, intricate technique. If you guys want to see some setups for it, how I go about landing it, make sure you drop it in the comments below so I can write down on my request list to make sure I do that video. And the final thing that I noticed about Rob Cayman is he attacks from so many distances with that low kick. A lot of times, like we were talking about with Peter Arts, a lot of times people want to be at this distance. They blast their low kick, but he's able to do it from in here. If you're able to land low kicks from in here with the upper shin, you're going to catch people when they're not expecting it, and that upper shin against the thigh, it's almost nauseating when you get hit. It just kind of thuds in. Doesn't make that big snap, that crack, but it thuds in and it just destroys the front of the leg. If you have not tried landing low kicks from in tight, get to this position, and it's not a big pivot on your standing leg, it's just lift and drop. Lift and drop. And we can all watch Rob Cayman do it as well. He executes it so nicely. I'm always impressed when somebody has a high KO percentage. 79%, that is stunning. And the fact that so many of them came by low kick, even more stunning. And guys, let's move on to our final KO artist. I could not find anybody with a higher KO percentage than this guy. And although I don't agree with this, many people list him as the GOAT. We are talking about Badahari, 87% KO ratio with 106 wins and 92 of those coming by way of knockout. Now, when we look at Badahari, such a big, strong guy now for heavyweight, very tall, used to be relatively thin, kind of more like me, and then now he's just boom, he's just exploded in size. But when we look at him, we don't see somebody come out and just, right away jump on guys. He takes his time. He has his hands up. He doesn't rush anything. He keeps himself composed. But when he does go, when he does throw, he puts everything into it. If he misses a shot, it's not like 1, 2, oh, I missed. It's like 1, 2, whoosh. and he just swings for the fences. But when he hits people, they get hurt. And with Badr, it's not always just head punch KOs. I've seen him come up and down to the body and hurt people with that body cross. Just put them right out. He had something that exploded his name years ago against Stefan Leiko. Big spinning hook kick KO, put him out cold. Badr is not just somebody who comes in and flails away. I mean, when he throws punches, sometimes it gets a little wild, but he is a very technical guy. He has nice low kicks. He has those body shots. He has those spinning techniques. He has the power to finish anybody, and he takes his time, which makes him very dangerous. He came running out like he does occasionally, and he's suffered some KOs because of it, but if he came running out every time, he would not be the fighter he is. It's his calm timing that he maintains for a little bit of time. I would prefer to see him maintain it all the time. If he maintained it all the time, he didn't lose his cool. I mean, right away, the disqualifications on his record, where he's got really mad and flipped out, those would be gone. But if we want to be a little bit more like Badr, it's not my fight style, but if we want to be more like him, we take our time. We're very defensive. We're very good when somebody throws about trying to exit. But when we do throw, we aim through and through and through with power shots all the time. You only want to have this fight style. You only want to try and adopt this fight style if you are somebody who hits very hard. Jumping in and trying to KO somebody with this big, massive power shot or two or three, it's not wise. It's not something that I should do because I'm not one of the hardest hitting guys in my division. But if you are somebody who fits that profile, save your energy. Take your time like Badr does. Chill here, resting, and then when you throw, you have all the energy you can put into it, all that output, and then you can go back to here. Take your time, reassess, see if it works, see if you need to switch levels or throw some fancy techniques. If you're going to do this, you have to make sure you hit the bag, you hit the pads like this, so your body's used to it and you don't gas out in the fight. I know Badr is a fan favorite, but guys, of everybody I mentioned today, we talked about Rob Cayman, we talked about Badahari, we talked about Tension, we talked about Gokusaki and Rob Cayman. These guys, to me, have the highest KO percentage. Of all of these guys, who do you like the most? Who is your idol for KO stars? For me, I think, surprisingly, considered I only just watched a few of his fights today, Rob Cayman was the guy I was most impressed with. Looks like he fought pretty much everybody there was to fight, and I love seeing guys who can land the low kick because that indicates full-on strategy and thought when you're fighting. You don't just land the low kick by fluke. You have to really be thinking. You have to be a thinking fighter to be that KO guy who can land those low kicks. So for me, of all these guys, Rob Cayman, I'm the most impressed by that. His KO percentage was very high. But let me know which guy impresses you the most and who you're going to try and emulate a little bit more in your training. And guys, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like. If you have not already, please join the channel and get subscribed. Train hard, and I'll see you back here soon for another video.